is here that the story continues, where they hid out for 3 years under their ideology. They did this so that they could continue to live with free men, women, and children, not under Roman rule, but they also understood that they were living on borrowed time, because it was only 3 years later that the Romans came with a military might against Masada, building the huge siege network around Masada, and essentially laying siege to Masada. And as the Romans are about to break into Masada and destroy the last vestiges of Jewish independence, these same zealots find themselves in a dilemma. And the dilemma is this: should we, if it is now clear that with the coming of morning the Romans will come pouring into Masada, should we stand and fight the Romans and basically meet our debts doing it? Or should we essentially give in to the Romans and basically meet our debts doing it? Or we should not let the Romans have the glory of putting us to death, and we shall not let the Romans have the pleasure of abusing our women and children and sending them into slavery. Let us then take our own lives, leave all the stores of food, water, and weapons to show the Romans that we did not die because of thirst or hunger, but we died because we chose to die as free men, women, and children. That's what makes a great epos. Fantastic story. As the Romans come into Masada, they are met with silence. And only a few women and children who hid out in cisterns come out to tell Josephus, the historian, the Jewish historian, what happened the night before. On the night before, Elazar ben Yair essentially gathered all the defenders, exhorting them to essentially take their own lives. And in doing this, in the early hours of the morning, the defenders essentially, each head of the household killed his household, his wives, children, grandchildren. And then they started killing one another. The last man left drew lots, which you saw at the end of the exhibit. Okay? One of them, the commander Ben Yair, is written on one of those lots, showing that he was a historical figure. So you have here a story which appears on the face of it to be a story of heroism. The few against the many, the weak against the strong, David against the Goliath. And for many, many years, this same story was used as part of our national ethos when we were, and still remain, a small country, but when we were very much a weaker country, when we were very much a country that was always threatened. We would bring up our recruits in the Israeli army to the top of Masada, where they would take their oath of allegiance, saying at the end, "And Masada shall not fall again." And in this way, we instilled in our young generation, and also, if I may say, throughout the world, the concept of the brave Israel. The concept of Israel that will always fight to the death. However, I think that today, after we have stopped taking up our new recruits to take the oath of allegiance at Masada, and today, after the state of Israel is already, how old are we? We're already 70. We're past 70 already. Today, I think that we can take the story of Masada and ask ourselves again, what relevance does this story have today in our own lives? And how shall we look at it today? And if you will grant me another minute or two, I would like to at least present how I see it. As a mature country, pushing over 70, when we say today Masada should not fall again, we first have to recognize that the story of Masada, the story of the heroism, served the purpose. situation was a bit different. It served the purpose to instill in everybody this sort of, we can do it, we're there. However, there are certain limits to every national ethos. And I think that the limit is that when you say Masada shall not fall again, you should also think what essentially is the story showing us. These same people, the zealots, fanatics, put themselves in a situation where they were not only weak, but they remained weak. And as a weak element, they could not resist the might of Rome. Therefore, in coming up to Masada and defying the power of Rome, they basically knew they had no chance. But for the principle of dying in freedom, they would be willing to take their own lives. And the question is this the ideal, or is this the ethos, or is this the moral that we would like to instill for ourselves or to our children? If I say today, Masada shall not fall again to my son, I would likely add to it, listen, those guys put themselves in a situation where their backs against the wall. They're going to do or die. They're going to die anyway. Then what do we have to show for it? Okay? In Hebrew we have a saying that goes, where do you find the heroes? In the graveyards. In the context of what you are studying today, okay, Holocaust, you oftentimes read, of course, of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising and many other uprisings as well. And of course, we do look at the people who did these uprisings as heroes, as heroic figures. We understand that they did so as a show of force to regain their own honor, but they also knew that their chances to come out alive were nothing. And the question is, would their actions make any difference in terms of how history unfolded? And then we look at the same people who did not maybe resist in a violent way. The same people who were in the ghettos, who organized various communal activities within the ghettos so that those same Jews could live another day, another week, another month. Whether it be soup kitchens, whether it be orphanages, whether it be schools, whether it be Atra Kadisha for burial, whether it be any number of things that keeps it together, that keeps it going. The unsung heroes, I would say. When you read the testimonies today, whose testimonies are you reading? Most of them are not the people who died as heroes. They made it through because they said, we don't want to be with our backs against the wall. We will constantly struggle to remain strong, to survive. But what does it mean to survive in this day and age? Under the Nazi regime, to survive was very difficult, of course, because you were persecuted. The intention was to kill you. Today, as a Jew, Israel, to survive, this is what I would tell my son. When I tell you, Masada shall not fall again, don't you ever reach a situation where you have your back against the wall. Don't you ever put yourself in a situation where you have no alternative. In order to do that, in order to be there, in order not to end up like the victims of the Holocaust, you have to remain strong. And here you also see a little bit of what things are about here in your day and age right now. Of course, Israel can be criticized in any number of points. Many of them legitimate as well. However, you have to understand that in order to continue to exist here, when there are so many other people around you who are not quite what you would call the lovers of Zion, so to speak, okay, you have to remain strong. And not only do you have to remain strong, you have to project that strength. And not only project that strength, you have to show that strength, because that strength is the same deterrent which will make sure that you, in the future, and I, in this case, particularly I, okay, will not find myself with my back against the wall. Maybe this is the lesson of relevance that we can take with us today of the Masada story. And if you take a look at it, in the historical picture of things, when we have only one historical source, it speaks of Masada, Josephus, okay, it seems strange. Because the Jews, the rabbinical sources, they speak nothing of it. Why? Maybe they didn't feel that it was something that they felt very proud about. The Jews were killing other Jews. Maybe it's something they didn't feel so good about because of the outcome. Because what is the outcome? They all died. Or were sold into slavery. Neither did the Romans speak of the Masada aside from Josephus. Maybe they felt robbed of their glory. So the whole story of Masada, while being a very, amazing story and everything, I think within it there's a lot of different messages that we can take with us. Of course, you are free to get your own interpretation, but this is just mine that I am bringing you here. Okay? And I think it's really relevant to look at this story, especially within the context of what you are studying now at Yad Vashem. Because we see things today that happened also in the past. Today also we can see, again, how in various stages, people throughout the world are oftentimes led into a situation by fanatics, whether they be Christian, Muslim, or Jewish. That's not the important thing. That when you have fanatics, people who are very highly ideologically motivated, there is a certain border that you cross when you have to deal with reality. If you're so fanatic that you believe that yours is an absolute truth, that everybody has to accept it, and that you think that this is something that's worth fighting for, that's fine. However, there's a certain limit that you have to set yourself, okay? Because you have to see reality. To be able to do that, the only way you're really able to do that is when you are really in a position of strength. However, the same strength will lead you in a different direction as well. Take that just as a thought and as a lesson, and if you want, we can develop that discussion as well. Any questions up until now? Okay? So I've tried at least to give you sort of an educational aspect to the story of Masada. Unfortunately, again, I kind of apologize I weren't able to go up there and I could show you every stone and all that, but maybe I spared you in this way as well. Which brings us then to here. The story of Masada.